呢啲定時炸彈一路喺 Harper 身邊嗰度，所以咧我哋亦都睇過去幾個禮拜嚟講的話，佢亦都提供好多利多嘅政策，淨係菲律賓颱風所造成嘅災害，佢幾乎每個禮拜都有去菲律賓嘅天主教堂裏邊嗰度去為佢哋祈禱，亦都不斷增加捐款，但係似乎所造成嘅正面效果同埋媒體嘅效應一路都唔高。我哋馬上喺2015年就要正式聯邦大選啦。到底目前嘅狀況對於保守黨、對於總理嚟講的話，有幾大嘅影響呢？ 2015 is still away, but it's not that far away.
No, it's not.
So with these two bombs, and all the new developments, how do you see the Conservative moving towards the next election, and particularly how it affects the leadership, Stephen Harper himself?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. As I said, I think Harper has increasingly become a liability for the Conservative Party, but I think his game plan was laid out pretty much in the convention. The speech he gave at the convention in Calgary, the Conservative Party, really outlined the reasons for voting for Harper in 2015. The question is going to be, what do the opposition parties do? I think the real issue here is his primary adversary the NDP under Tom Mulcair or the Liberal Party under Justin Trudeau? That is really beyond his control. But that's going to be the critical factor. My sense is that the Conservative base is unlikely to expand much. Conservatives themselves, you just consider the fact that Harper himself, he has solid support among the Conservatives in large measure because they really don't like the alternatives. But he's bereft of ideas. The convention did not bring forward a bold new agenda. It really is, I'm the effective, competent manager of the economy. If you don't want to rock the boat in a turbulent time in terms of the global economy, stick with me. That message has a certain resonance. There's no question that Canada has weathered the economic storms of the past decade reasonably well. Not in no small part because of the price of commodities and particularly of oil. And he clearly represents a desire to push forward on a kind of an extractive model of economic development for Canada. The question is going to be what is the role of the opposition parties, particularly in a electoral system in which we have 308 ridings across the country, and you have to win a majority of those ridings. That doesn't mean you need to win 50% of the vote. All that means is you have to win 50% of the ridings. And you can do that if the opposition is divided, if the parties that are arrayed against you split the vote. You can get in with substantially less than 50%, and in fact that's how Harper won his last majority. He didn't win 50% of the vote. He won substantially less, but he won enough to hold the majority of the seats. So the real question is, will the NDP and the Liberals and the Green Party split the vote in such a way that it's possible for Harper to squeak out another majority government? If he does not get a majority government, I cannot see either the Liberals or the NDP at this point forming any kind of coalition with Harper. So even if he wins a minority, but a plurality of the seats in the House of Commons, I think you would not expect to see him forming another government. And that's going to be, therefore, for Harper, the critical calculation. How does he get a majority in the next parliament?
As I said, it's still early to make any predictions for the 2015 election. But based on the recent by-election, what do you think that's a trend that will continue to develop as
I think the
Liberal Party is growing?
They were good for the Liberal Party, there's no question. The Liberal Party did well. They were bad for the Conservative Party, no question about that. What's interesting is the NDP did not do better. And what that suggests is that while there's a certain amount of respect for the work that Tom Mulcair is doing, there's no question that he's effective in question period. He's kept the pressure on the Conservative government.
I have to say he was very good.
He's very good. That's right. He's done a remarkable job of very lawyerly, just hard, direct questions. And I've never seen a government exposed in this way. The answers to the questions. Paul Calandra has just been a total disgrace. Most of the conservatives who've answered Harper's questions, including the Prime Minister, have not looked good. They've been evasive. They've not been to the point. They haven't provided, real information. And these are very pointed questions that the leader of the opposition is putting to them. But that doesn't necessarily mean people may may like that, and they may be impressed with his performance. There's no question that it's doing damage to the Conservative government. It doesn't necessarily build support for the NDP unless the NDP can present an attractive alternative. So the real question is, is Justin Trudeau or Tom Mulcair better able to present a vision and also to persuade the voters that he represents, either Mulcair or Trudeau, the most viable alternative to Harper. And I think the challenge for Trudeau is he's not experienced. It's not that he's inexperienced, but he doesn't have a long political career. And he's very young. He can come off sounding amateurish. So he's got to keep the balls in the air until the next campaign, and then run an effective campaign. I think he's probably got the best shot at replacing Harper.
Now, going back to Stephen Harper become a liability to the party, between now and the next election, is there any possibility of changing leadership? The mutiny is. We can feel some mutiny is going on. Do they have time to do that? Will they do that?
It seems to me unlikely, but you never know. I mean, there was speculation that Harper would step down this past summer. He did not, in part because of the Senate scandal, possibly. It may well be. He doesn't like to run from a fight. And he may have calculated that he was going to step down and let somebody like Jason Kennedy step up. We've certainly heard other members of the cabinet speak in ways that suggest that they're ready for leadership at some future date. Would the caucus actually rebel? There's no question that the caucus can do that in our parliamentary system. Michael Chong has a private members bill that actually tries to strengthen the ability of caucus to review the leadership, as well as reduces the power of the party leaders, in particular the Prime Minister's office, in terms of signing the nomination papers of individual candidates, which is a critical source of the discipline that the centre has over individual members of parliament. And so Michael Chong's bill is intended to reinforce the power of ordinary parliamentarians. But the fact of the matter is, at any time, the caucus, if they want to, can remove the Prime Minister. Backbench rebellions have been known to occur in many parliamentary democracies. You think of how Thatcher was removed in the United Kingdom. That can always happen. But for that to happen, you really need to have serious divisions. Now, I think what we see within the Conservative Party is some disenchantment with Harper, in particular frustration with the kind of controlling nature. I mean, nobody loves him, but everybody fears him. And I think people would like to have more autonomy for individual members of Parliament. And I think that's a sentiment more broadly shared. And by the way, it's not just within the Conservative Party that you have high levels of discipline and control from the centre. The NDP, if you want a bench of people who, do what the leader tells them, the NDP is as disciplined, if not more disciplined, than the Conservatives are. So this is a systemic issue, not an issue of one political party. But I think an open rebellion against Harper, right now I don't see it, but of course anything's possible in politics.
Yeah, they said that he never walked away from any fight. It seems that it's a kind of a required the characteristics of any politicians. The Chrétien.
Yeah,
it's famous. Come on, you just say,
well, I love
take it up. You love a fight. So but how does it affect the voters? Because now walking into the next election, as you said, it's no more the ultimate strength of the Conservative Party has been shaken, and now the landscape within the Conservative caucus in Parliament has also changed. So how would you see that this will eventually they change the strategy of campaign strategy of all these three parties?
Well, on the one hand, I'd say that I don't think people vote on issues of democracy, and that's one of the things that the campaign that Ignatieff led sort of demonstrated. You don't go to voters in good economic times and say, the economy is growing, but we're being governed undemocratically. That's not a kind of argument that's really going to sway people. I think what you've got to do in this case is recognize that with respect respect to the democratic questions, that people are feeling turned off by politics. The level of turnout is very low, particularly among young people. People are not engaged. People don't trust our politicians. People don't trust the political parties. There's a sense that the negativity in politics has reached an unprecedented level. There's such a high level of partisanship, this combativeness that we see among our politicians. I mean, a certain amount of that is necessary. But that's for campaigns. And between campaigns, governments are supposed to govern. And we like to see a lot more evidence that the parties can actually work together to get things done on behalf of the electorate. Part of the problem is, to be fair, the media, because the media reports the shenanigans in question period, but they don't necessarily report the business that gets done in caucus or in committees or in other places where the media's they're sometimes not able to go, or there simply isn't the kind of drama for them to report. I think that a winning strategy for someone like Justin Trudeau might well be to say, let's do politics differently, and focus on the kind of politics that Obama was at a certain point in time able to inspire, which is to say, include people with looking at novel ways of engaging the public. Look to ways of making people feel that they own their own political system. I mean, there was a report just came out by the Samara charitable organization that just simply looked at the websites of all of the leaders, all of the members of parliament, and said, you know, are these people accessible? Do they have office hours? Can you meet them? Do they make it easy to connect with them on social media? There are a lot of things parliamentarians could do to kind of open the doors of government and give people a sense that our voices can be heard and that they matter to our parliamentarians. I think a new kind of politics that really contrasted with this highly controlling autocratic style that we see in the part of the Prime Minister could well be appealing to, particularly to younger voters, and I think that's probably where Justin Trudeau has, you know, a bit of cachet.
And yes, I do understand that a lot of time the people, the voters, they might not necessarily want you to agree or just do exactly what they say, but they need to be listened.
That's right.
And that listens process is very important, particularly now with the social media.
Right.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cameron, for coming to share with us, because today we really look into depth about the whole fiasco, but it does, I think it will change our landscape in politics. 2015年嘅大選話遠唔遠，話近唔近？最近呢啲咁嘅炸彈，呢啲咁嘅弊案，對於我哋未來嘅政治版圖嘅分配，將會有好深遠嘅影響。我哋周一長談會繼續同你追蹤，繼續同你深入討論呢個會影響我哋下一代好大嘅一個議題。